Hello, everybody, once again. This is Frank with the Whisky Anonymous podcast. We have here today, we have
Leonard,
Erik,
and our special guest, absolutely not Matthew Fergusson-Stewart, not at all.
Not at all.
And we have
John Blackwell.
John. He's our other special guest. He won a contest during our Glenfiddich night, and so he's here enjoying a podcast with us. So today for this part, we are tasting an Invergordon 43. It was from 1973, and it was taken out of the cask in 2015. So yeah, this is a nice 43-year-old whiskey.
Wow. It is a grain whiskey, so different from the malts. Interestingly, as a grain, it gets a lot better with age. Young Invergordons, if you get a young grain whiskey, they get pretty harsh.
Yeah.
And we have a younger one up there, but 1984.
Right.
And the difference is unbelievable.
Yeah. Look, that's generally my experience as well, because if you look at whiskey, when it comes off the still, that's 100% distillery character.
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
Because everything is from how you have made the whiskey to that point. Then you put it in a cask, you start to get more cask character. Most whiskies, they say, are around 60 to 70% influenced by the cask. That's where 60 to 70% of the flavour comes from. But obviously that's kind of an average. If it's only been in the cask for a few years, that's going to be a lot lower. Mm-hmm. And after 43 years, that's going to be higher. So what we get is more cask influence. That harshness that you get from the spirit originally has been replaced by these lovely vanilla notes.
Yeah. And just for new listeners or ones who aren't as familiar with distillation, it is not... Grain whiskey is completely different in terms of distillation as well as ingredients. So I believe these use coffee stills. So it's not the pot stills that go one after the other. Mm. It's a straight distillation. It's more efficient. It's more cost efficient, which is why grain whiskeys tend to be cheaper. And they tend to be used in blends, and why blends sometimes come out as cheaper as well.
Not cheaper, lower cost.
Lower cost, more affordable.
Yeah.
Do you know why it's called a coffee still?
I thought it was invented after a man named Coffee.
Coffee was his surname. Do you know his first name?
No.
I'm not making this up.
Okay.
His name was Anus Coffee.
Anus.
Really?
It was. And so obviously they named it after his surname because nobody wants to drink spirit from an anus still. But he was an Irishman. He was a former exciseman, a taxman. And actually someone by the name of Robert Stein in 1926 invented the precursor to the continuous or the coffee still. And he was a great inventor, but not a very smart businessman, because he said, everyone come and have a look at my wonderful invention. This is very, very clever. And one of the people who looked at it was Anus Coffee. He said, that is a good idea. So he took that idea, he made some improvements, and then he took out a patent.
Wow. Oh, so he was a taxman who semi-stole someone's idea. Semi. And his name was Anus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
A-N-U-S? Is it spelled A-N-U-S?
It's it's an old traditional Irish name. It was A-E-N-E-A-S or something.
Okay.
Oh, so it's sort of like Aeneas.
So it could be Enos.
But the correct pronunciation is actually
Anus. Anus.
Yeah. It's a name that for some reason has fallen out of favour in the modern era.
I wonder why.
Well,
And real quick, Leonard, could you explain Cooper's Choice, since it's not your standard distillery?
well, Cooper's Choice isn't a distillery, it is a bottler. It is one of my personally favorite bottlers because of the fact that they are purely Scottish. A number of bottling companies are from France.
One from Italy.
One from Italy. So it is nice to see a bunch of men in tweed and jumpers picking the barrels.
Tweed. But yeah, exactly. So they get to pick whatever they want, if that they're allowed to, and then they do it themselves.
Right. They could either finish it themselves, and most of these are bottled straight away. Cooper's usually tends to bottle at higher strengths, so they tend to go for at least non-chill. A lot of their offerings are cask strength.
Yeah.
So I tend to be more of a hooch fiend, so yeah. I
So-
tend to go for the higher ABVs.
Another brand you guys may know, I think was it Gordon MacPhail, or was it? It's we just had it the other day.
Yeah. Gordon MacPhail.
Gordon MacPhail.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to Cooper's Choice in that sense.
Yep.
Anyways, enough talk. Let's have a sip, smell.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's really
Creamy vanilla.
Yeah, creamy vanilla. A lot of oak. that vanilla.
It's more like a caramel macchiato. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
no,
that's
caramel,
exactly
yeah.
it. Honey and vanilla. A lot of that. It's just bourbon.
Yeah.
It isn't
Light
finishing
caramel.
anything in it.
Light caramel, yeah.
Yeah,
It isn't finishing anything else.
What you've got in here, what you can get from bourbon casks is there's these two chemicals called lactones, and they're so well known, so well associated with whiskey that they're actually called whiskey lactone. But they come out of the cask during aging, and from a bourbon cask, the two most common one that smells and tastes like vanilla, and one that smells and tastes like coconut.
Coconut.
So you don't often get the coconut in Scotch whiskey. It seems to be a bit shy at hides. But when you get the grain whiskies, sometimes that light, fresh coconut starts to shine through a little bit, and that's what I'm getting here. So as well as that vanilla, it's not the same as the vanilla you get on a single malt, right? It's a little bit lighter, fresher. That's on here.
This is
coconut.
Yeah, I can taste it. Though.
Yeah, you can.
Like when you breathe out, you
It is a 46% ABV, so it's going to be slightly higher content than most of your standard whiskeys out there.
And it's keep in mind it's 43 years old, so 46% at 43 years is actually quite good, or quite high in terms of bottling strength.
It is, yeah.
You do have that slight pepper because of the ABV.
Yeah.
Slight.
When we first opened one, it was actually quite harsh. So this does need a little bit of time to sit.
And we did let it breathe in its own glasses for a while.
Yeah, we let them breathe for about an hour, but
43
still.
minutes. Yeah, 45 minutes at least. But it still wasn't enough.
Yeah. Tip for the players at home. Whenever I have a good single cask strength bourbon cask, I find it almost always gets better after the bottle's been open for a while.
Yes.
They really love those bourbon casks. They really love a bit of oxidation. Sherry casks, I find the opposite. They might a little bit of oxidation in the glass over 20 minutes, half an hour. They might improve, but after that, I find they tend to go flat and dull and bitter, a bit sour.
Our favorite Glenfarclas 12.
Well, Glenfarclas is okay, but
But you know what I'm saying? That needs breathing.
Yeah.
It was just our experience before was, and we've talked about this, was it after 3 months after, we've had a few shots, a few drams, after a few months in the bottle, it came out perfect. It just needed a bit time.
A little bit, yeah. And that's got quite a heavy sherry influence.
It does.
If that goes too long, that will get flat and a bit sour.
Right, okay.
But bourbon casks, I've had bourbon cask whiskies that I've had open for years, and they just kept getting better and better.
Nice.
Yeah.
They get softer and sweeter. Somehow it develops a lovely sweetness. So if it's a bit harsh, a bit aggressive at first in a bourbon cask, just leave the cork out for half an hour, or an hour, or half a day.
Yeah, in a sense, treat it like wine, right? Wine, you need to let it breathe. A good proper red should breathe for a while. Do the same thing with many of your whiskeys. Just try it out if you don't like it at first.
Yeah. I'd be more careful doing that with your commercial 40% whiskies, which are usually a mixture of different types of casks anyway.
Right.
If it's high strength bourbon cask, go for it.
Go for it.
I was going back to this particular whiskey. One of the things that giving it some air or letting it sit for a while has really changed. Aside from the smoothness, is the finish, because it was heavily criticized for having a very short, very blunt, unremarkable finish when it was first opened.
Yes.
And now I'm getting that butter and smoothness and bits of coconut.
Yeah. And a ton of butterscotch.
A lot of, I was thinking of that,
lot of
butter.
butter. Yeah.
Butterscotch, yeah.
It's like a candy almost.
Yeah.
It is. This, honestly, I can say this is probably one of the better scotches I've had in general, not necessarily scotches, just because of maybe the differences before from when I first opened to now. I mean, the price in Philippine terms is about 21,180 here. Where are we at again?
We're at Don Revy, and remember, Whiskey Society members, if you go to Don Revy and cite Whiskey Society, you do get a discount.
So you're looking in U.S. dollar terms, approximately $420. So it's not the cheapest out there, but
It is 43 years old, though.
yeah,
If you can get a whiskey at less than $10 a year, you're doing well.
there you go. Exactly. So, any other tasting notes, thoughts, whatever?
I would like to ask Matthew.
No, he's absolutely not Matthew.
I'm sorry. I would like to ask absolutely not Matthew. If he knows of any good, and when I say good, I mean good to visit grain distilleries, because I noticed most grain whiskey distilleries are actually not very picturesque.
They're not. Look, it's really a big industrial process. It doesn't have this small romantic feel of a single malt whiskey distillery. Even a big single malt whiskey distillery like Glenfiddich, which some of you might have heard of. when you go and visit that, you still get these lovely small pot stills, and it's old stone buildings, and even though it's a big distillery. You go to a grain distillery, you have these massive stainless steel structures, and they're incredible works of engineering, which is kind of art in itself, but it doesn't have that.
So really, there isn't
romantic feel.
It ain't pretty.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty.
Well, technically, grain whiskey distillation is pretty much the same as how you distill oil.
Right. But that's the amazing thing, because
Yeah.
this still was invented by Robert Stein and Anus Coffey for whiskey.
Right.
And now it's used to, separate oil into
Yes.
your petrols and your avgas.
Because
and
you can,
all other things.
the biggest difference is you can continuously, grain whiskey distillation can be continuously fed.
Yeah.
Batch, of course, if you have a pot still, you cook it just like if you're boiling water in a kettle, and when you're done, you got to start over and pour in a new batch of water or a new batch of feed. You don't have to do that with a coffee still. You just keep pouring.
Just keep on
putting
going.
ingredients in, and the spirit keeps coming out. But so if you are driving down here to Don Revy to have a taste of this whiskey, remember that the column still, the coffee still, is not only the reason you're coming; it's also enabling you to get here by giving you petrol for your car.
Exactly. Question. So for American whiskey, let's say bourbon is majority grain, right?
Yeah.
Do they use those type of stills also?
They'll use different types. The big column still actually has two columns. It's got an analyzer and a rectifier.
Yeah.
Two different bits, and that was the improvement actually that Anus Coffey made, was put the second column in, which is mostly for efficiency. But you can get basically a pot still with a column on top, and they use quite a lot in America.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of a hybrid. It is a column, but it's still a pot still as well.
Okay.
It's not continuous though.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, all right, well, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching the Whisky Anonymous channel and podcast. Once again, this is Frank.
This is Leonard.
Erik?
And
Absolutely not Matthew.
absolutely not. Thank you very much, and Slanjavar.
Lanjavar.